Well, I would hope
hope
so.
For at least, yeah. I hope. We'll say it that way.
Coming into this series, if you told me FURIA won map 1 and we're moving on to Vertigo for 100 Thieves map pick, I'd say, okay, cool. It should be 3 maps then. Taking a look at the fashion in which FURIA won the previous, maybe there's a little bit of doubt there. 100 Thieves are actually starting this off with a lot of confidence. A fast rush for Jacob getting a little bit caught up. And they're moving up towards the A bomb site through short. Bomb dropped. Art has got a low HP Gratisfaction in front of him. Not able to take him down, though. And a 2v4 now for FURIA. Not an easy comeback for them.
No, I mean, Casarado may actually be able to find that bomb planter. Unfortunately, not quite in time. It allowed for him to escape as well, and he took 5 damage somehow. Unfortunately, not able to escape completely. Yuri eventually does finish him off, but this is a very difficult retake right now. I think there is a kit over here on the Ali side. As you can see, Yuri does manage to retrieve it, but obviously wasting a bit of time having to do so. Gets himself a quick headshot on the Azza as well. That's 2 already. Knows JKS, of course, is in towards the sandbags and just continues to frag. Suddenly, it's all on Liaz. They know he's in towards middle. They get the headshot as well. It's Casarao who finishes off. What the hell? How do FURIA manage to swing that round back without even really taking any more damage on those 2 players? Honestly, once that bomb went down and the nade wasn't quite in time, I figured, alright, even if they get that kill, the 3-on-2 after plan should be fairly simple. They have 1 player coming in from mid as well. If they can just waste a bit of time, let him get in close, then obviously the CT's retake and have to deal with 2 angles. But they just got torn apart. Yuri was an absolute monster that round.
Oh, 100%. Not a round you would have expected them to come out on top in, really, and throwing away the early advantage is not what you want to see from 100 Thieves. They've gone into this round with Kriegs ×2, giving them a chance to answer back, and one would hope that the answer will be delivered and heard. FURIA here with another nade going down early there for Art, and nothing done with it. A previous one on the bomb site, it still perplexes me how it went backwards. I feel like the hitbox was a little bit off on the vertical part of the box, but oh well. What can you do?
Yeah, I'm
CSGO
not sure exactly
nades.
how it happened. I think the box itself also covered a little bit of the damage, thankfully, for the player who was planting the bomb. Forget who it was at this point.
Yeah, it was. The way he threw the nade, though, it should have bounced and went forward, but it bounced and went backwards for some reason, so the box blocked it. It was really weird.
I was about to say, Gratisfaction actually had the perfect angle right there. Gets the second. All right. Suddenly they have actually a couple of weapons potentially to work with on top of the already 2 Kriegs that they have in their possession. JKS with one of those combines alongside Azza. It's actually the 2 of them that managed to claim the bomb site. And suddenly Casarado and Henny are left with very few options. I think at this point already they should be just calling for that save to come in. Just so that they have something in this next round actually to work with. Otherwise it is only going to be pistols. As you very likely do expect the force buy to come in now in this next. It'll be 1400 loss bonus only. Great round from 100 Thieves, though. Making it clean as well. Going in with the 2 rifles, not losing either of them. Been able to pick up an M4 as well, and an MP9 then on Liaz, which will definitely still be useful in this next round when we see, of course, only pistols and Kevlar onto a few of the players, most likely.
I was going to say a bit of a change of pace, but I guess not really. It's ported over fairly well from the pistol round. But 100 Thieves having the success this time, not giving away those early, not even the early duels because they won those as well, but just allowing the clutch. Taking out Yuri early on apparently is the key to success. At the moment anyways, that certainly proves to be true. CS crash coming through here, in case you can't see the chat. One of the boys is DC. That was happening to us earlier as well. We had some game crashes, and we also had some coaches bailing out. Yanko had the issue in the phase game. It's due to the version of CS that's being run at the minute. So we should be back in just a couple seconds. Should be Gucci.
Yeah, shouldn't take too long. Unless it was an internet issue. You said it was just a game crash, was it? As you pointed out. Or
yeah,
as
just a
you
game
kind of
crash.
hinted towards. We can't see the chat on my end. Do have it turned off, just so it's not popping up on stream. Not really because of what they're saying, ever. You wouldn't expect these teams to be saying anything bad. It's more so it just doesn't look nice. You can still hear it, though, the little tick-tick.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any way to mute that sound. I'm pretty sure there's not.
Yeah, I don't think so, because I've looked before, because you still know when people are typing. It's at that point, whenever people hear it, they're always like, oh, let us see the chat. I'm like, no.
Sometimes that's not the best decision.
Like, I don't know what was being said. I'm not turning that back on. But, yeah, it is, yeah, pretty much the buy here we expect for FURIA. They actually get one MP9 onto Vinny. I'm not sure if he bought that himself or if it was dropped over by one of the surviving players. Perhaps they could have afforded to do that, and I believe that was the case. But yeah, I mean, coming into this one, we do expect 100 Thieves. This is their map choice. We expect them to feel a bit more comfortable. They've been able to come back, get themselves a pretty convincing force buy win right there. Even then, the pistol was looking pretty convincing, at least with them getting into the bomb site successfully. It was the retake they faulted on, and they were like, okay, yeah, we know we messed up. They just brought it straight to A again, and it worked out that time. So I think they'll be feeling pretty good. But let's see. I mean, always the chance FURIA themselves could steal away a force buy as well.
My one wish in life is that I knew how to separate the maps into top and bottom. I think I might find out how to do that in a while, make a custom HUD for it, because God, it's so hard to look at the map here and figure out what's going on. Those early rounds when they're spread out for defaults, it's like, is he here? Is he here? Sometimes. Again, it's the same strategy though for 100 Thieves. A little bit slowed down, knowing that they're up against this weaker buy. Gratisfaction again entering into wood short. And then they're going to continue their way up the ramp and look for the fights on the side. Double push on short. FURIA trying to answer back. They're not able to get any duels successfully won. But as I say that, Art picks up Jacob. Then goes Gratisfaction to again trade that out to success. The bomb site was quickly overtaken by JKS and Azur. And FURIA's force buy not yielding any results. It means we are going to see an eco coming through from them.
Is this another technical? I do believe.
Yes, a technical from Vinny.
His ping's alright.
His TS
His team
just
okay.
crashed. Everything is crashing.
It's just not a good time. Nothing's going right. It's going to be an eco anyway, so I mean, I doubt there's a lot for them to talk about what they're going to actually do in this round. I mean, maybe they can have a bit of a discussion while he's fixing his team speak the rest of them about how they're going to play this next gun round, which they will be getting 2,400 into, of course, so it's really not going to be the strongest of buys. No op going to be available. I mean, Art could go for it. I mean, yeah, he could get the op out. He could get body armor. Could even drop it over to Henny, depending on who's feeling it. But for this round, at least, only USPs. Will they stick together? Maybe try and get aggressive somewhere is the question, because that's normally kind of the best you can do, really, when you have so little. Push down, hope to maybe catch 1 or 2 players. Maybe then if you steal a weapon, if you do so cleanly as well, maybe you can go and actually have a chance of fighting into the round. But you're not expecting much with just these default pistols. Decent dinks actually coming in on mid. JKS also getting dinked down. Yeah, this is getting a little bit dangerous. Fortunately, the kills are still favoring 100 Thieves.
I saw a lot of love in the chat, Dean, for your pronunciation of 100 Thieves.
Oh,
100 Thieves.
Alright, I have to practice TH words. I've practiced like 3. I can say that better than I used to be able to. But
3, yeah, very good.
But Thieves isn't a word I say often, so I haven't practiced. Oh, okay.
Ooh. 2 for 1.
Speaking of Thieves, Jacob stealing that second kill.
It's like a little quirk, Dean. I like it. 100 Thieves.
I'm just all quirks.
It's like everyone has that small thing. It's like I am just.
It's just everything about me is just those small 9 things, you know.
Yeah. Well, Dean, 3-1. 100 Thieves certainly looking a lot better than previously. Let's see if they can actually find the rounds whenever they're up against the full buy. Early mid push coming through from Jacob. He just wants to blitz on in and look for a fight. And Vinny's getting taken down by Liaz, who was up beside him. Oh my god! They line up in CT. Look at the art of the op to deal with him. But still a man disadvantage to deal with for FURIA. They were not expecting a player to be that aggressive that early on. I mean, he just ran like a lunatic.
Yeah, I mean, just both teams are early on were finding some very, very heavy aggression. I mean, it looks like right now 100 Thieves do want to just group up straight over towards B. It is just going to be Casarado. He actually has no nades left at this point and is playing relatively aggressive. So I was going to say not in the greatest of spots to get info, stay alive, and waste time. But he has begun to fall back a little bit. He's heard the Molotov and the nades, of course, being thrown in. So at this point, definitely should call for that rotation to come over. And does at least manage to find one before going down. So not terrible. I mean, Jacob and JKS both tagged up. Art also tagged up himself over on the FURIA side, but he has the op to work with at least. But it's Yuri that really will be the main man right now. He's actually pushed up towards the generators. Smoke down on one side, so it does give 100 Thieves a little bit of an easier time. One less area to focus on for a few seconds, but Yuri, he indeed is making noise as he goes forward. Spots that backpack. Unfortunately, not able to really do too much damage towards Jacob, and as he swings out for the kill, it is the Krieg that comes out on top of the battle. At this point, there's nothing that Art can do. He's going to go ahead and just back away. Maybe he can find a museum to save himself in.
He's going to have to at least find one kill to carry this out forward. Player coming around the corner. Jacob tries to stick his booty out, but a little bit too far. With Art finding that kill, he should be safe to carry this AWP through to the next round. But for what good? 100 Thieves certainly starting this out a lot more convincingly than the previous map. And this is really what you want to see from them. I mentioned in the previous that we had obviously really good performances coming through from Jacob and Azur. The rest of the team were struggling a little bit. But now Gratisfaction coming through on a whole nother level, just rifling as well. And doing so very successfully. I mean, he's opened up the A side at least short 3 times so far.
Yeah, and that's what you need for 100 Thieves. We didn't really see any players show up on that previous map, and no one stood out. I mean, it wasn't kind of you could blame one player either. That's usually the case, obviously, when it is such a one-sided score. But for FURIA right now, I mean, coming into this round, they don't have too much, so we should see the side of 100 Thieves actually being able to take themselves a 5-1 lead. But there is still the op, obviously. Art is looking to also try and get a little bit aggressive. He's been actually pushed up on mid for quite a while. It doesn't seem like anyone's really going to give him a chance because he did fire off a shot earlier on. He kind of gave away the information.
They're avoiding it pretty successfully for the moment. As they move up towards A. Art's only on the rotate over. Hearing a lot of utility being used up. He wants to get in position. Dropping the smoke up behind. And gives him a nice little angle to play around. They're going to go in for the head peek and he can shut them down. At least that's his hope. His teammates keeping them back on short, spamming away on the pistols to let them know, oh, you don't want to take this close range fight, buddy. You want to go ramp. And Art's happy to pick them off there, but no. Wide swing from Jacob as his teammate jumped up on the sandbags to bait the shot. And that is very well handled by 100 Thieves. Leaving Caserato all by himself. I am one of the most critical people when it comes to these kind of rounds when you've got rifles up against pistols. I absolutely hate to see players or teams going in willy-nilly looking for duels, but 100 Thieves handled that so well. They were cautious. They didn't take a lot of map control, but they were watching for any flanks coming behind. They didn't push through short and give the pistols the close range angles, and they dealt with the AWP when they knew something was going on, that the pistols weren't just playing aggressive. And obviously that Art had carried it up forward. The jump up on the sandbags was so smart to head peek and instantly dip out. He fired the shot. Jacob swung, took him down, and that was pretty much all the threat eliminated.
Yeah, no, that was really well played by 100 Thieves. Even just not to continue trying to actually challenge that off when it did show that initial presence. Yuri, though, actually able to get aggressive here. It looked like he was probably going to be able to fall back away because that smoke was down, but fortunately Gratisfaction again actually been able to find himself an opening over here. And Art is sticking around as well. I mean, getting himself the 1 is not too bad, especially with the damage that has been done to another couple of these players. So being able to bring it to the 3v3, normally probably favoring the T side, but Liaz and Azza probably not going to be able to do too much in this situation. It's going to be JKS that has to do most of the work. As he moves forward, that smoke down giving some room for them to try and challenge towards the alley where they know the op is. Liaz actually managed to burn Vinny alive in behind the smoke there. So they should be at least getting this bomb plant now. Knowing where Henny is, the only thing is Caserato flanking up to ramp. They aren't 100% sure of where that second player is. But they may find out soon. I like this. They can push in and get some real serious control to actually just play this bomb.
Yeah, FURIA not applying enough pressure. Now pushing into CT. They're going to spot out that there's no players here. With the op ringing out, they know where Henny is at least, but they already had that info to play around. It's not a revelation as he moves forward. It's Caserato that can hopefully catch them off on the ramp. Time is so low. They know that they're in CT. Good read by FURIA. That spam is so powerful, though. And as Caserato falls, Henny wants to save the op that's up behind him. They're knifing in the smoke. He might find a kill here, actually. The spams give away JKS's position. And afterwards, I wouldn't say free, but yeah, he found it. It's a little bit close.
It's still just getting really awkward for FURIA. It's not really gone as I expected. I did think it would be a little bit closer here, especially with FURIA being on the CT side right now. They do need to start picking up a little bit more. If they can still get about 6 or 7 rounds, I think they'd be good. But obviously for this round, it's only the 1-up that's saved over. An MP9, some pistols then being upgraded as well. So we very likely are looking at a 7-1 lead here for 100 Thieves before the guns are actually able to come out again. Nito, I think, wants to try and get a little bit aggressive with that up over towards the ramp. There's a few players around that area. Overall, 100 Thieves just kind of splitting up for that default initially. Although they have begun to give up most areas. Art is pushed up down through B. Will be spotted, fortunately, because Liaz was rotating back in from mid. But that was a little bit interesting. They didn't have anyone actually watching for that B aggression in the beginning.
Henny's got to be the one to do the damage. And again, in a spot over in mid, we're seeing a switch up from FURIA. They're no longer committing fully in towards setting the AWP up for picks. They know 100 Thieves are going to happily counter that a little bit later on in Blitz rushes. Henny was watching from mid, but not able to find anyone there as utility gets used up again towards A. Furia figure, well, it's probably going to be A again. Remember, they've only played this map once. It was 16-12 loss versus Swole Patrol, as we were saying earlier. Oh, the push through the smoke, that's worked perfectly. It pulled the player off the angle, and Gratisfaction only able for one as Yura gets it. Henny inside the smoke onto Jacob. A 3v3, and time's starting to get a little bit low. That could become an issue for 100 Thieves as they push forward.
Ooh, just relentless aggression right now from Furia. Unfortunately, it has begun again to go back in favor of 100 Thieves. Having those favored weapons, and considering Henny has already picked himself up a kill, they should know he is around that CT spawn somewhere. And there's smoke going to go down, which should give them the cover here to be able to plant. At this point now, the 2-on-1 without the defuse kit for Henny, it is going to be very difficult if he's not able to get a kill really quickly here. Has money, so he may as well go for it. Okay, actually just going to go ahead and immediately tap the bomb. JKS at this point may be forced to go forward, does actually just hear the footsteps, so is able to just back away at this point. Has it then waiting. Here's that Henny is going to head and put himself back on the bomb site and catches him as he's trying to tap it again. So it is, in the end, another round for 100 Thieves. A close one considering Furia had so little investment. It was mainly just that saved up and some pistols then being upgraded. But they need to start actually picking up some rounds now that they are getting back onto the full buy.
That's it. This is where things need to take a turn for the better. And Furia calling a pause, they know it. 7-1, it's a line in the sand. You cannot cross this. You give 100 Thieves more of a lead without picking up your own round, and all of a sudden I've lost a whole lot of faith in you. Now, looking at Furia, one of the reasons I didn't like them coming onto Vertigo is because we talk a lot about their CT sides and the proactive aggression they like to pull out. But this not being a map that they're comfortable with as a team, that aggression turns from what is normally a fairly favorable gamble into a very blind gamble. They're switching from poker to roulette. And with the lack of practice, I guess, in terms of officials, obviously we always speak about this a little bit blind because we don't know how much they've scrimmed it or anything like that. But when you look at how they're playing in officials anyways, they don't like this map. They don't let it through a whole lot if they can into the deciders. So it's definitely not in the upper echelon of their map pool, which then really causes problems on their style of CT side and why they're usually so successful at the defense, bringing the offensive angle to it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can see that it is a little bit of a struggle, especially right now over towards B. They decided to be a little bit more passive. We've seen them multiple times actually push up on B. This time just going to chill it back towards the bomb site. One player there actually managing to creep out mid somehow for 100 Thieves. Does get caught with his back exposed by Art, so it does go down. At this point, I don't really know exactly what the plan is for 100 Thieves. They're sending one player back over towards A. Obviously, the bomb's still towards B with the other two players. Jacob right now trying to be a bit of a nuisance, I guess. He has pulled two players back onto this bomb site and another in towards the CT spawn. So they've just completely pulled these rotations away. Henny only now actually beginning to work his way back towards B. Oh, and the shot not being connected. That should give at least the bomb plant here to 100 Thieves, which was looking a little bit awkward at one point. Again, not really been able to connect at this point, but at least staying alive. He's allowed his teammates to come back in and help out now for the retake.
Oh man, I'd like to see them go faster than this though. They know Jacob was just over at Sandbags on A, so they could have had a 3 versus 2 on the side. Instead, they allow them to group back up, and as JKS falls, those 1-for-1 trades are just buying time. Smoke goes down. Oh, get a good shot. Henny onto Liaz. Now it's only Jacob who they know is going to be rotating through this angle. Seen on the edge of the smoke, and well handled by Furia. The defuse should be easily got. And there is the round at long last that they've managed to connect. The full buy working out for them. That was very scary for me because I guess I see the logic in it. There were 2 players on B whilst we had JKS over on Sandbags distracting. The thing is, there were still 2 players from the CT side over there because they didn't know whether it was a full commitment to B or a fake. And so as they stuck around, it would have actually been a 2v2 on the bomb site. So waiting for the rotates to come through obviously worked out in the end with the utility they had left in the back pocket.
Yeah, I get what you're going for. They probably could have pushed before really that player had any chance to rotate over. But it did work out for them, that kind of more passive approach. Really the hope was the op would be able to just get one, and at that point probably then just get that final player if he was left alone. But obviously Henny wasn't really successful on his shots initially until the retake itself came in when he was able to connect. But yeah, I mean, 100 Thieves obviously still having plenty of money to actually reinvest into this one. It wasn't the cleanest of rounds from Furia, being able to keep 3 alive. So, I mean, it allowed them to have the full buy here, obviously, but they don't build up any money. So ideally for FURIA to really start getting something going here on the CT side, they do need to chain together a few rounds and start finding some momentum, and that's not how you want this round to begin. Art goes down, trying to push up on that smoke over towards the ramp. Unfortunately, just as it begun to fade away, one player also did push around the edge of it, and just all of the frags right now actually being found by 100 Thieves. They've just been torn apart. Gratisfaction. That second headshot was nasty. Yuri went down, and this round is done. Casarado just going to be left to save.
I think 100 Thieves are starting to realize that they don't need to pull anything extravagant out of the bag. They can play a very traditional and a very predictable push in towards the A bomb site, but because of FURIA's lack of experience on this map, they're not able to deal with that faster play, pushing up the ramp with the util coming over. They don't know how to get in there and take that early ramp control successfully and hold it. The most we've seen them do is push up on short, and even when they did that and played aggressively at the scaffold with Art down by the sandbags nading, they ended up getting traded out in 1-for-1 duels, which again puts them in this position where they don't really want to be playing that aggressive angle. And I'd put a lot of the worry of the A players in getting aggro is down to Gratisfaction and how well he's been playing that short angle. If your short players don't feel like they can play up in their in your opponent's faces, like they'll get punished for any pushes, then all of a sudden you can't really take the ramp control because scaffold's completely open and you could be shut down if they get there on time. Immediately starting this one out, Art goes down, but they have only got pistols, so you expect a faster round, more aggression coming out. No op to back the pistols up this time, and although they get a FAMAS out on Henny, there's not really a whole lot of hope.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 28 health, he doesn't even have Kevlar. If he could trade it over to Yuri, it wouldn't be too bad, and indeed, Yuri is nearby, so we might see that happen. Maybe then he can pull a few kills at least, make it a bit of a closer round, but the Deagle definitely capable as well. Actually finds Gratisfaction. I would prefer if he doesn't stick around here. He may be tempted to see if he could retrieve that weapon, hoping maybe that 100 Thieves will back away, which does look to be the case. Fortunately, the Molotov also being missed right there. So, I mean, he may eventually have a little bit of a chance. I don't think they actually were able to throw that one away, but the question is now 100 Thieves. They're bringing it back. Most likely, I would imagine, just over towards B, indeed. Not going to be doing anything crazy around mid or anything. And for the meantime, it is just Casarato playing extremely passive towards this side of the map. He's just holding with the Deagle, hoping he can pick one off if the push does come in. Not really going to be able to do too much about this, especially as the smokes go down. So we should see this being pretty straightforward from this point for 100 Thieves. And indeed, I mean, Yuri on the flank maybe had a chance to turn the tides, but he doesn't find anything.
Again, you're always going to see people very perplexed on how a team can go from one map getting play and the dynamics that they rely on. Don't know why that word got stuck. It does start to paint a much better picture. We're talking about Mirage not being a great comfort zone for 100 Thieves. They play decently on it, but they have their upset days if they're just not feeling it. And versus FURIA, stylistically, they're at a bit of a disadvantage. You saw that. They got stomped. Moving on. Vertigo, map 100 Thieves are well versed on. They're comfortable as hell. Whereas FURIA, they don't want to play it. At least so far, it's not in their upper echelon, like I was saying earlier on. It's not a map that you see them pull out of the bag quite a lot. They've never picked it. Up against Swole Patrol, they get not having the easiest of times, and I would have pinned them as favorites to take Swole down. And so in this series, that's kind of why we're looking at this saying, yeah, we're probably seeing a third map. And I'm quite happy if we make it there. Nuke is a map that will really show off the best qualities in both of these teams, and I'm excited to see them hit each other on a level playing field. But at the moment, this is anything but level. The spams in the wood don't deal as much damage as they could, and a two-man stack early on short is a nice bit of compensation for the control they couldn't keep earlier. But they've lost Henny and Ard and Yuri have been naded down. This is a very bad scenario for them.
Yeah, the nade stack was nasty, and then especially as they lose the actual side player, it's just pretty much impossible now for them to hold. I mean, that flash, it does give some hope over to Yuri. I think that was actually a team flash. But in the end, I mean, just being traded back immediately, that was the only frag to be found in this round for FURIA. And even Casarado again is the last man standing. He hasn't been having a great time. He is just over towards B. They've been losing this A-bomb site so quickly that he's never even really given a chance to even attempt a retake. Normally it's just a position where he's like, okay, I have to save. And again, that is the case. 10 rounds going to be going over to 100 Thieves, and as you said, Nuke is looking very likely, which is the one we have been saying should be the closest of the three maps if we get to that point.
Well, unlike either of these, I wouldn't favor a team massively going onto it. So that's, I mean, that's where we're coming from with that prediction. But you never know. It is Counter-Strike. There's no doubt that 100... Oh, Gratis Factions died to the bomb. There's no doubt that 100 Thieves will have money, though, which kind of builds onto the point of Gratis Faction dying. They don't really... They could have all died to it. There's not that many rounds left to go. They're getting bomb plants pretty consistently. As a matter of fact, let me check that stat. We've had... Oh, yeah, sure. We haven't had bomb plants in every round because they've been eliminated. They've been eliminating the CT side before the bomb could even go down a lot of the time. But in any round where they weren't just demolishing them, they've at least gotten a bomb plant in the 2 rounds that they lost. Had to be a defuse, so there's very little worry about them losing cash.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at it. Gratis Faction is the one who has the worst economy by far, and even then he's just still slightly under 6,000. So, yeah, they're fine for the rest of this half. It's going to have to be FURIA taking the 3 remaining rounds, and obviously this one not looking too good. It's not too likely considering they just have that 1 rifle, but they do have a bit of a stack. Not really trying to actually push on the ramp, instead just holding for these peaks to come in. Yuri ends up actually finding that opening kill, and I think 100 Thieves now just immediately going to cancel that push, realizing it is the stack. The problem for FURIA now is that they're likely actually going to lose this B bomb site. They won't have anyone there in time to actually stop this bomb plant. Unless they want to get very aggressive on their own, because there is a couple of players who could push right now, but it is quite risky. More damage being connected, some team damage actually there as well, I think, in the end. These deagles have just been chipping away at the health for the last, like, 20 seconds or so. Yet to get a kill, but they're definitely making it a little bit easier for them to actually attempt this retake. Unfortunately, the rifles do begin to clean up in the end. I mean, there's still some chances, but you can see Vinny being on 6 health already. He doesn't want anything to do with this anymore. He's beginning to back away. He'll just leave the pistols to see what else they can find.
Okay, good kill on a Jake. Yeah, saving the weapons is going to be hard, though. They're on the bomb site, and it's unlikely anybody gets near enough to it. Certainly not Vinny with this.
What?
Make sure he doesn't get the Krieg. That actually could have been the thinking. He was so low, and he might have died to the bomb that he just jumped off the map to ensure.
My auto-director just swapped to him at the last second while he was flying off the building mid-reload, so it just looked so strange.
Yeah, I think he threw a weapon off the map and then picked up the Krieg and jumped as well. Okay. It's like, you're not getting my weapons!
I was just confused because the auto-director swapped to him in the last, like, second of the round, and he's just mid-reload falling from a skyscraper. I'm like, what's going on?
He was cleaning house.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a worry, as we said. It's not like the money's an issue. I was just very confused about how that happened. But, yeah. I mean, it's doable. FURIA, if they bring it back to 4 rounds, if they can get off to a good start with that T-pistol, then it's definitely possible for them to come through with a very strong T-side of their own. The only thing is, obviously, kind of lacking that experience on the map that 100 Thieves actually do have. And again, Gratis Faction just continues to find these openings over towards that A ramp. Shuts down R2, tries to get aggressive initially. Does get tagged up quite heavily, so he needs to be a little bit careful. But FURIA, they aren't really sticking around. Again, not finding success. They don't want to try it again. They do push up on B, though. That's not a bad find. Henny somehow didn't connect that first one. Did look on, but he's able to follow up as Gratis Faction swings in.
Now 100 Thieves very focused towards the B bomb site. If he hit that shot, I would have banned him myself. Leon's eventually finds the kill. Looks for the smoke down behind, but they have no idea there's a player close. Never mind. Vinny is dealt with nonetheless. And FURIA with 2 rounds on the board are not looking likely to win this one either. Their cash is quite low, but with the loss bonus, hell, you might as well go for it, because 3 is better than 2. Quick math.
I guess it depends on the context.
That is true. 3 splinters, not better than 2 splinters.
Mm-hmm. Also, worse things. But, yeah, I mean, it's not looking good. We kind of expected this. Again, though, although we said both teams should have their maps easily enough, we didn't think that they would be this one-sided. That's just surprising. All of our games today, unfortunately, have been a little bit one-sided, as we pointed out after that first map. We had FaZe versus OG earlier on, which had 2 16-7s, if I'm remembering correctly. So,
yep,
it's been an interesting day for us so far. The matches that we are expecting to be competitive just aren't. But it does at least look like we are going to get a map 3 here on this one. So we're going to have another opportunity for maybe a scrappy map to come in. I want some back and forth action. That's what I want.
Yeah, as I told you already, Dean, I can't come to your house till this is all over. Then we'll get the back and forth action. Don't worry, I promise. 100 Thieves again with the fast blitz towards A, and again, completely catching Furia off guard. Vinny manages to answer back with one on the Grady, but that might be all they get done. The Krieg's now up in force. The AWP of Henny, good for one, but he's stuck behind the box, and with limited angles to peek, he wasn't able to catch them by surprise. They've spotted Casarado. One kill he's good for, but with 44 HP and a Krieg crouch peeking, he wasn't good for much longer.
13 to 12. I mean, what can you say about the half from Furia? It's kind of gone as expected. I mean, there's people in the chat who are probably like, oh, Furia bad. Furia are not bad. This is just not a map that they play very often, so you really cannot expect them to actually show their highest level, especially against a team like 100 Thieves who do actually like the map, and as you can see, you've clearly put a lot of time into practicing it.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. It's very difficult, especially for Furia. Like I said, their CT side relies so heavily on these aggressive and very well-calculated aggression plays where you essentially need to rely on having a good read, good communication from players, first of all, across the map so you know what your opponents are doing, and then understanding from whatever you're seeing how they're playing and where would be the best place to deploy some aggression, generally wherever Art thinks that he wants to go. But on Vertigo, it's very difficult if you don't play this map consistently, or indeed most maps outside of maybe a Dust or a Mirage, to understand what your opponents are doing if you yourself don't have a good expansive knowledge of how to approach the T side. Like 100 Thieves, look at how many times they just blitzed up A. That they either held and pushed into short, Gratisfaction find either the opening or the trade, and then they blitzed up ramp, split short, easy round with the smokes and flashes thrown over. Furia had very little counter to that because they couldn't get down. Like normally, if that's happening to you 2 times out of 3 or 4 rounds, you're going to start to play aggressive down on ramp. You're going to throw the smokes in through the windows to smoke it off deep, get Art around there peeking at the sandbags, get the short push up as well, and make sure you're holding the angle, post on it, and you can start to rotate to play more aggressive mid. They couldn't do that because they don't have the utility setups, the timings, and they don't feel comfortable in pushing those angles. Well, they don't really know how quickly maybe their opponents can be there, or who's... I'm sure they have a basic knowledge of the map, but versus a team that are well-versed on it, it's very risky to try any strategies like that.
I think early in the half, especially, they did actually put the smoke down towards the bottom of the ramp a couple of the times, but they ended up kind of getting flashed off the angles and such, and even when they were using their nades, 100 Thieves still just weren't letting them actually push forward and get any of that control. So they'd just throw out their flashes, keep the players blind until the smoke actually faded away, and then just go on like nothing happened. Just continue on going up the ramp, Gratisfaction hitting heads or whatever. So it was just really tough. Whatever Furia tried was being shut down, and it's pretty much what we've seen back on map 1, just the opposite way around, of course.
This is what I was saying about 8 rounds in, I want to say, where we saw Furia change up completely from the aggression they had on ramp and on short. When Gratisfaction was coming in and finding, I think he opened up short like 3 out of the first 4 or 5 rounds. At that point, Furia started to pull back a little bit and stop playing like their normal selves again, realizing that their gap in knowledge of the map was really holding them back and causing them issues. And because of that, then you end up in that position where Furia play passive on the bomb sites. They're turtling a little bit. We're not seeing the usual flash in the pan aggression coming through from them, and 100 Thieves looking a bit confused. Instead, it was 100 Thieves with control and the ability to go anywhere they wanted at pretty much any point without too much congestion on the rotates. And indeed, even when they were facing stacks, they were able to use their utility to isolate angles well enough that there was never really much of an issue.
Yeah, right now, though, it looks like it's going to be that B split. 4 players actually up through mid, only 1 initially going towards the steps, and everyone just jumping straight through the window and overrunning that bomb site. I mean, not a single kill being found, barely any damage even for Azza and Liaz, and I like that aggressive smoke as well. It made it a lot more difficult for anyone to even rotate over. Obviously, the fact that they came through mid made it a lot more difficult for those players to rotate back over through B, towards B from A, rather, just in case anyone had stuck around on mid, even though that wasn't the case exactly. Eventually, we will see it coming down to the 5-on-2, and I mean, at this point, I don't think it's really too worthwhile actually going for this. They have the Kevlar and Jacob, they have a kit and a flash on the Gratisfaction. They could bring those into the next round if they are looking to try and go for that force buy, just to give themselves the... Whew, okay. Art boosted up there, managed to hit a quick one-tap on the Gratisfaction. Jacob probably not going to be having too much success in living because they are all hunting them down right now. But as I said, I do realize the time's getting pretty low as well. So he definitely has a chance. Has now been spotted, gets one, and will go down. Not too bad. I mean, they get a couple of kills in the end. It's a few extra dollars at least for them to work with into this round. And considering they have such a massive lead, they don't really need to buy. They can just take that eco. But they are going to go for it. I mean, when you're feeling so confident as well.
This is one of the downsides of online CS versus LAN CS. I'd love to talk to FURIA about their preparation level coming into Vertigo, because obviously we say they've only... Oh no, Caserado's just shut down that mid push completely. Something we didn't see from FURIA at all on their CT side, but they're still being conscious of it. And you can see that they have got a level of understanding of the map. Certainly as individuals, I'm sure everyone's played Pugs on this map. Everyone knows it, even from the community side. We've all played it. And it's the same for professionals. But whether they're scrimming it actively, whether they can find scrims on it in the region actively enough, and indeed whether they want to, like, these are the questions that I'd love to ask them. But obviously with it being online CS, it's a little bit harder to have those networking moments of figuring out where they're at. This round has played out very well for them, though, with those 2 opening kills. 100 Thieves now just have to back off, and Turtle Bomb's already on the A bomb site. And so this should be a fairly easily secured one.
Yeah, catching the back there. Gratisfaction as he was making his way through the window. So yeah, not much really that can be done. These final 2 players are hoping to maybe be able to actually save a little bit. The scout even being retrieved there by JKS. I don't know if that's going to be allowed. I mean, ideally, FURIA don't want to be given the chance for any of these rifles to be picked up either, so maybe they just send the SMG out, have a couple of guilds maybe in the background as well, helping the fight. Especially now as that Molotov does go down. But let's see, I mean, there's a chance at least for 100 Thieves to try and get some damage in here. I don't think they're going to be too upset if they can get a few kills, get some weapons for themselves, just keep the damage onto the economy, keep the economy of FURIA modest, because obviously it is such a one-sided scoreline still that if FURIA were to actually have to take an eco at any point, it would probably give away map point, of course, over to 100 Thieves. So as 2 players did go down, FURIA, they gave up on their hopes of actually taking those players out, and all they'd done was give over a couple of AKs in the end.
See, for 100 Thieves, there's literally 0 pressure. Like, they're 13-4. They've got a good 4 full buys to burn before they can even think about getting worried. With that time to play with, they're going to take a nice light buy around those AKs. They're not fully forcing up. Nice and easy. Cruise control enabled. Get through these rounds and see if you can get a bit of information on how FURIA like to approach this T side that you can use in your full buys to have some calculated aggression coming through. Remember, this is a team on the CT side now that has a really expansive knowledge of the map compared to their opponents, and that leg up could help them a lot in identifying, for the more important rounds now, any small little tricks that FURIA like to perform. The flashes up on short. They're hearing utility over on A. Does this mean now that FURIA are committing into this afterwards? And if so, if they hear that same kind of utility run out in the next buy round, they know what they're up against, and they know how to read into that. Liaz is still inside a smoke, but they've re-smoked, so they haven't spotted him. And as they lose JKS, Liaz is just dancing around. They don't know he's here. Jacob falling's almost good for them, because they're not going to suspect Liaz. This could be a huge play coming through from him. Tucked on the smoke. Oh, but they're still checking it. Very well played by FURIA to still be conscious of that.
Yeah, no, they didn't rush into that at all. No, okay, we have time. We have 5-on-2 at this point. We don't need to immediately put this bomb down because there is still that smoke on the bomb site, which could be an issue. So they'd waited it out. We're able to get the kill as it was fading away, and as well over towards that B bomb site is going to be hunted down. A little bit of extra cash there for the SMG being farmed up. So 5-13, I mean, 8 rounds in the difference at this point now. This is, of course, going to be the first proper gun round for 100 Thieves on their CT side. If FURIA can pick this up at that point, then they'll likely be bringing it back up to 7. At that point, it's looking a little bit closer. Maybe it is becoming a reality, but obviously this round right here is going to be so important for FURIA. If they are to lose this one, I mean, it won't put them on an eco, but obviously still 14 rounds at that point for 100 Thieves. If they want to make this comeback a reality, ideally they need to get another few rounds before they drop one, if they do even drop one. Ideally, obviously, of course, they want to make it flawless, but for now anyway, we aren't seeing anything too crazy from them. Splitting up for a pretty standard default. Are they trying to actually push around this smoke? I think for the moment, just kind of waiting it out. They of course don't really want to get up too close, knowing 100 Thieves do have a lot of strategy in mind on this map, and the fact that they will likely be following up behind that smoke, which is the plan. So indeed, just kind of hanging back. Henny gets that initial kill. Art then able to find the op as he drops Gratisfaction, and suddenly it is a 5-on-3.
Slow and steady wins the race, and for Furia, it's going to have to be a very slow, momentous drive forward in this series, or in this map at least, to pull it off in a 2-0 fashion. They haven't checked back bomb side. Liaz with a 2-man as they line up for him, looking for a little bit more, and he gets it on Caserato. Pistol out. He's being pursued, but he's done his job. With low HP on Art, this is a disaster of a round. Just that one split-second decision to leave that side completely cost them the advantage they had, and now Azur has to pull back a clutch in a 1v1. Yuri's already found 2 kills. He knows roughly where he is, and he's conscious of this back position. Yuri shows his ass and gets spanked out of the game. And with the Krieg picked up, he's going to look around for an AWP. Doesn't look like he can find one, so just defusing that bomb. It's a 10-second without a kit, so get me a little bit worried for a second. 14 rounds on the board for 100 Thieves. And Dean, this is that's not what you wanted for Furia. I thought this round was theirs. Thought it was in the bag.
It did seem like it. I mean, a strong recovery there in the end from 100 Thieves. Actually been able to make that retake happen in the end. It's heartbreaking, because I literally just pointed out how important the round was. They end up, unfortunately, letting it slip away. As I said, at least they have enough to buy again in this round, but it's getting to a do or die point at this point, I guess. Yeah, struggling with the words a little bit. But one positive being that it really isn't that great of a buy from 100 Thieves, despite them winning that previous round. Obviously, when you live them with 1 means they have to drop over some weapons. A couple players lacking a bit. There's some passes that have to come out. They've only got that 1 kit on the JKS, so if that gets dropped somewhere awkward, retakes could be difficult. So there is still a chance for Furia to start trying to get a few rounds here for themselves. And obviously with map 3 coming up, even if they don't actually manage to get the comeback for the victory here, if they can at least get something going before they head on to Nuke, feel a little bit better about themselves, get some sort of momentum going, warm up a little bit. Because it can be tough to swap over on a bad note. Some people say it's worse to lose a close game, but at least then you feel like you did put in a good performance, of course. But look at this, JKS, alongside the rest of his teammates, they do just want to go ahead and swing in on the ramp late into the round, and it has just worked out perfectly. The only man so far to trade back for Furia was Vinny. Eventually, Caserato does find one around mid, but now he's the last man left standing, his position being known, and he's outnumbered in a 3-on-1.
Caserato. Unfortunately, sometimes there's not a whole lot you can do about it. As he moves on forward, he's taken out. And the player that was left alive is the final player alive over in the CT side a lot on B. Wondering what he could do. Was in the same position there. 15-5. This is a dominant performance from 100 Thieves. The turnaround we were hoping we would see to bring us all the way to a 3rd map. And commendation to them for making it happen. 1 round left for them to claim that, and it starts with Furia on 2 pistols. It ain't looking the most likely. Well, let's see what they can make happen with it.
Alright, straight through the smoke, though. Actually catches that first player up on the left side, because Gratisfaction wasn't peeking out for the moment because of the flashes that had been coming in. Thankfully, they are at least able to get that trade, but not really holding the actual ramp control this time around. So most likely they're going to have to just give it up at this point, because they've already lost the scaffolding control as well. They don't have someone around that area, so they would have to worry about too many angles at this point. So let's see. I mean, Furia does seem like they still want to end it on this A side of the map, and for the moment, we haven't really seen any crazy rotations coming in from the CT side. We did see Gratisfaction getting aggressive. Vinny a little bit angry there about the fact that he got caught on that smoke, unfortunately. Got 1 kill, but wasn't really able to try and actually follow up on it and get anything else off the back of it because of being slowed by the smoke. So it is actually coming down into the 2-on-3 now. Better smoke at least prolonging the time that they have to plant safely. Oh, that Molotov not helping.
On forward, the Thieves go, looking to steal away a map. And defuse is all that stands between them and that task being completed. A smoke in play for Liaz. A Molotov for JKS deployed in towards short, but Azur loses his head. Whether he's mad about that or not, we might never know. Liaz goes up on top of the boxes. He's spotted, though. Loses a bit of HP as he does. Casarado with the AWP on the ramp, just holding down. Time's starting to become a huge issue for them. Goes in for it. Good shot. Now it has to be the AWP that denies it, and he can't get it. That should be the defuse for 100 Thieves. And with that, the map, 16-5. They've done it. They've pulled off an insane reverse on the first map.